What is up, everybody? We woke up to nice, look at this. Look at this. Do you see this? That's right. It might be cold, but that means that it firmed up the ground. No longer gonna have to work in mud, but it is a little bit chilly this morning. I think it's gonna be a high of 22 degrees Fahrenheit. As long as the wind doesn't kick up, and I think we're fairly protected here by these trees, we should be good. But I'll show you what we got going today. So first and foremost, what we've got to do is, starting at this corner, that way, this whole front is gonna have brick on it, and it's gonna have real brick on it. So we're gonna be out like 4.5 inches, which means we've got a little bit of detail work to figure out where it connects into this wainscot. But we're gonna go ahead, we're gonna get our bottom house wrap on. We got the laser set up for shooting our perfect base trim. The goal today, and this could be lofty, but you guys stick around and let's see if we do it, is to get the roof on this side, to get this steel done, and to get the back steel done. That is a huge goal, but I think we can do it if the weather treats us right, if this ground stays firm and we don't have to work in the mud. Looks like our neighbors here, our framing brethren, are going to town on this house for our customer. But you can see here what I'm talking about is getting our steel up and around. This area will take a little bit of work, a little bit of detail, not just slap it up. A lot of times we used to go ahead and just measure and mark snap lines for base trim, and you can do that. That is perfectly acceptable, I believe. But to be honest, I think it's almost quicker. Truly do. It's not only quicker, but more precise to get your grade stick, set up your laser, and just from that point, you've got everything set, and you just tack your base trim up with the laser, and it's perfect. There's no guesswork. There's no back and forth snapping lines. There's no bending over reading the snap line. You literally just set the laser and bang on the trim. One thing that I have adapted and I agree with, and I don't know why we didn't just do it all the time, but we got our house wrap ran over our base trim. We're getting this going. Always love these corner details. Greg is using the laser as long as I'm not in the way. We've got these truss head screws. Sometimes we use our pads load stapler. The problem is it's cold out, and that thing, because it's gas, does not like the cold weather. And I think the screws give us a lot more flexibility on getting the trim exactly where we want. Now, because this is a 12-foot wall, we can't run 10-foot house wrap. We gotta do it twice. So I always like to run our wainscot house wrap up. That way we can run our wainscot, run our trim up here that goes over the wainscot, and then we can run our top over that and get it sealed up. Also, it allows me to get this job going while we're wrapping up the roof right now, which is what me and Zach are working on, and then I can frame in windows without actually having to worry about waiting on house wrap. We can get like multiple projects going at one time, and that's obviously always the goal. So we're up here on the lift, and we're getting ready to put up our soffit. We just installed what we call an F and a J, and that's because the profile of it is in the shape of an F and a J channel. They're combined into one trim so they can accept the soffit panels and the wall panels. Now, when we frame this thing, this 2x6, you can see it right here, we frame it so that when this is installed, the top of this 2x6 is measured and designed so that it is the top of our trim and the bottom our sub fascia. This way we don't have to come up here, we don't have to snap any lines across our soffit. This board up here is telling us exactly where we have to put it without ever having to pull out our tape measures. So I think that's pretty cool. We are moving here. We got this end wall, we got our windows installed. I'm gonna go cut my J channel right now, but I still think we have an opportunity to get this steel up because we're doing all the prep work now, and once that's done, the steel's gonna go up pretty quick. We got the house wrap around, we got our soffit J up here. Greg's wrapping up the double angle trim that goes over the wainscot. That's gonna allow us to start putting steel up here. There's no windows, so this is gonna be easy. 8 quick sheets here, and 13 sheets down this wall. they're gonna have a brick, a real brick across these two sections, and then up here and underneath this porch that wraps around. So what I've got to do is, I forgot to router out a rabbit. I think it's a rabbit. I don't know, a little dado or something, so that our 3/4 plywood can sit in flush with the face of these wall girts, and then the brick guy can put his cable tie or his brick ties or whatever to that. So I'll show that as it develops. One thing that always annoys me is when I'm doing the J channels around the windows is this right here. I've always got to just cut that off. That way you got a nice tight corner when you put your trim on. Another thing I did here that I'm glad, you know, this is like part of the YouTube community, people giving me feedback on my videos. I went ahead and, you know what, you guys are probably right. I should be doing that here on our buildings as well. So from here on out, you should see us putting our windows in and flapping our house wrap over top, and we'll tape that off just in case any water gets there. It won't work its way behind the header. We're going hard. I'm running this over here by myself. Greg ran the wall here, and I was getting going on that back wall, so I think I'll make it down this wall. They'll finish that up, and I think we're gonna make our goal, but the sun is setting fast. I just put a new set of nibbler punches in the Hitachi nibbler, cordless, and oh my God, what a difference. I forgot, or I guess I didn't realize how bad it was. Man, we were just busting tail today. I didn't pull out the camera and do too much, because I think what's gonna be the biggest point of this build is gonna be the hip porch, and then also, I think dealing with a lot of the details right here. We've got some sidewall flashings. We've got this detail way up here where the soffit dies into the roof line. We've got ridge cap coming into fascia and to gable trims. And so I think I'm gonna spend more time kind of showcasing some of that details, how I handle this to make sure water does not go back there. We're gonna throw up these last couple sheets here. Got it, Greg? Good thing you're skinny, you can fit down there. No, man, you got it. You got it. Good? I think so. Right on our mark. Right on the mark. Always lay out your sheets. Nice work, Greg. You got plenty of room down there.
Yeah, I ain't get my drill in here now.
No, you're all right. So we've got another cold, frosty morning, but the sun is shining, the wind is non-existent, so it doesn't feel too bad, especially if you just got some good work gear that is comfortable. The job today is these overhead doors. I'm gonna work on framing them out and getting them trimmed out so that this front can be house wrapped, and as well as the guy that is gonna do the stone work can get the stone done. But we're doing something a little different. Now, if you look across the road there, that's a competitor's building. Nothing wrong with it, I guess. Those doors are pretty much standard square doors. What we're gonna do here is we're gonna be putting the clipped angles on the corner. The first thing I gotta do is I gotta rip down some angles. Now, what we always do is 16.5 inches this way, 16.5 inches that way. That's just what I always learned. That's what seems to look dimensionally correct. Feel free to let me know what you guys do, but 45 degree, I think it's about 21 3/4 or something. I need to do the math to remember because it's been a little while, but that's the first thing I got to do. And I'll go ahead and I'll rip down the boards, remembering that our columns are 5 3/8, not 5 1/2, and that is because they've been milled at the manufacturer, the Ohio Timberlands. So standard 2x6s are 5 1/2 inches. So I gotta mill that down so I get the right depth. So I went ahead and I got my boards. They're actually 23 5/16 long point to long point, and that will get me down at my angle 16.5 inches square both ways. There we go. I'll take a step back here. Now you can kind of get an idea. And now we're able to house wrap through this area. And then I'll do my 1.5 by 1.5 blocking that you always see us put on our door jambs for our post trim, and then install that, which once again, we got a little bit of unique details here to make sure that the water is running out over and not behind the trims. So behind me here is where this porch is gonna go, and it's gonna be a hipped porch. The difference is I like to have perfect dimensional porches. In other words, if it's an 8-foot deep porch, I want it to be some sort of a factor of 8, so 16, 24, 32. I just think dimensionally having all of those dimensions work out for the hips to be 45s, all that good stuff. This one, however, is going to be 8 foot deep, but it's only going to be 14 foot long, which means we're going to have a little bit of a unique hip set, and I'm going to hand frame all that stuff. I haven't done all that math yet in my head, but I'm going to do it soon. First, what we're gonna do is we're gonna work up here on the wall framing so that we can run our house wrap. Now what we gotta do is this header here is gonna be the bottom of our porch. Not entirely, it actually is only 3.5 inches below the top. That's where our porch line is. So what I like to do is I want this down low enough so that I can run my 6x6s in and have something to fasten to, as well as trim around. So basically I've got to run my hip framing that's going to come up and down. That way I've got all that blocking inside the wall that I can fasten to after we house wrap. So I've already done the math. Basically what we're going to do is cut a 2x12 in half for each way, and this is going to give me the blocking that I need on the back side of the porch. So let's go ahead and cut that. I figured a drawing would be easier. Is I've got this 2x12 up on the wall there that I just showed you, and what I'm going to do is be framing basically some 2x12s like this. Great drawing. I keep hitting these. Anyway, I'm going to be doing this, and then our goal is to run basically a ledger on the bottom edge of these 2x12s that our purlins will sit on. So you've seen us do that. We're looking at it from a straight on view, and then I'll have another rafter here, and that's what's going to create our hip, blah blah blah. So what I need to do is find the dimensions of all of this. The Builder's Helper app on the iPhone, it is no longer usable with the new updates, so I went and I got the Construction Master Pro. I think I give like $30 for this calculator app, which is crazy, but it does a lot of the features that I wanted. Actually, it's done everything so far. In total, I've got 16 foot, which means half of it will be 8 foot. 8 foot run, 4-inch pitch, gives me a rise of 2'8". So this dimension here is a total of 2'8", but I also have to add the height of my heel on my truss that I'm gonna make, which I already know is gonna be 5.5 inches, but we don't have to worry about that now. It does not affect figuring out what this board is, because the way I like to do it, okay, so let's just kind of draw get another drawing here. This is a 2x6, and this is what's gonna create my fascia. So we're looking at it once again straight on. This is my fascia board that's gonna come straight out. So I've got this roof plane here. Let's just say it's like this. And this is my steel here, my rib steel. And underneath of that, what I'm gonna have is I'm gonna have purlins every 2 foot and roof sheeting. There's also gonna be plywood or OSB underneath of this. And underneath that, I'm gonna have that ledger board that we talked about. It's gonna be an 1.5 inch ledger board. It's gonna be fastened to the side of my 2x12 that's underneath. And so this 2x12 is gonna be running up something like this, and we're gonna fasten this ledger board onto that 2x12, and then we're gonna set our 2x4 purlins onto that ledger, screw them into this 2x12 that's on the wall. And so what I'm trying to figure out is exactly where this 2x12 goes. I already know that the height of a 2x4 on edge is 3 11/16 tall, and that is on a dimension this way straight, like a plain plumb line. I know from this point right here to this point is 8 foot. I know from this point all the way up to this point is 2 foot 8 inches. That's mathematical. You can't change it. Math never lies. What I need to do is I need to find the dimension at this point. So what I'm going to do, I've got a total of 2x4 and 1.5 inches, which is a total of 5 inches. 5-inch and a 4-inch pitch. That's going to give me 5¼ inches. So what that means on a drawing, we've got a 2x4 and a 4/12 pitch sitting on an 1.5 inch ledger. Now what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to find the plumb line dimension. What I can use is I can use this 5 inches as my run, and I can use the 4-inch pitch to give me the diagonal of 5¼ So by using that 5¼ I can come back over to this guy. I can take 2 foot 8 inch minus 5¼ to get 2 foot 2 and 3/4. So now, knowing that my rise on this triangle that I just found is 2 foot 2 and 3/4, 2 foot 2, 3/4 is my new rise. My run, or sorry, my pitch is still 4 inches. That's going to give me a run of 6 foot 8 1/4. What that's telling me is it's giving me this dimension here, and my diagonal is 7 foot 9/16. That is this guy right here. So what we'll do is I will now take that dimension. You can do this multiple ways. You can use a framing square. This is probably the most accurate versus using a smaller square. The bigger the square, the more accurate it's going to be, because obviously, you know, this is great for quick cuts. I like to go to a bigger rafter square and use these marks to tell me what I need to do. And I'm going to take this thing, I'm going to go to 4 inches right here. This is 4 inches, and then I'm going to come over here and I'm going to find 12 inches. This is going to get me my 4/12 pitch. Now this is where we take the dimension that we figured, the 7 foot and 9/16. We're gonna go 7 foot 9/16. Now this is the start of a reverse 4/12 pitch. Definitely handy to have this, because now what we're gonna do, and this is the important cut I feel, because when you get a really nice tight cut here, it just looks really nice. Also, another tip here, whenever you can, maximize your count. This is a 24-inch square, and it goes 18 inches, I think, 16 inches. So I'm gonna go all the way to my 24, which is 2 foot, which on a 4/12, I'm gonna go 8 inches. So we're gonna go 8 inches on the outside dimension, and we're gonna go 24 inches. That's gonna give me my 4/12 pitch. So I just went through all my drawings here, but this is gonna be the bottom. Now the next thing we gotta do is, as you can see, we're gonna have, because it's the end wall, we're gonna have a little bit of a cutoff here. So what I've got to do, 2 things. I can mathematically figure all of this out, and I could do that for you guys, or what I really could do is go set this up on top of my board, mark the edge, and cut it. Which one do I want to do? The easy one, or the one that will explain more math? What do you think, Greg? Are you already confused anyway?
No, I'm good.
Okay, I've decided to go ahead and figure it out, because I feel like math never lies. I've already got 7 foot 0.9/16, which is this dimension on the triangle. We know it's a 4/12 pitch, so what we should be able to do, subtract, well, let's just do this. 7 foot 0 inch 9/16, that's my diagonal. My pitch is 4, which means my run is 6 8 1/4. So from this point to here, 6 8 1/4. So I can take 7 foot minus 6 foot 8 inch 1/4. That's 3 3/4 of an inch. So what that means is, from this point right here, I'm gonna go 3 3/4. That is my cut line. So now I will take my square, I'll come back in here and go to my 4/12. I'll line up my 4 and 12, and I'll slide that down, get it to my mark here, get as close as I can, kind of. If I had those nice sliders on here, that would be a lot easier, but I don't have them, sorry. They're in my trailer somewhere. There. So now we've got it. This guy here, this is the edge of our building. If everything is correct and the math never lies, Kyle only makes mistakes. So let's cut it and let's see how we did. All right, we've got both of our framing that goes on the wall done. This guy here, see how long this point is? The goal for that is it's gonna go from the ridge way up here all the way down, and I'm just gonna let it keep running. That way I've got some extra meat up there in case I want to tie in my fascia to it and whatever. But this guy here stops prematurely right here on the corner, and that's why it's a 412, and then on the other end it's another 412 pitch, because it's going to die right there. But let's go ahead and let's get them up there. So we've come out, we've got our center point, we plumbed up to a height rise point right here with a plumb line. So this is where the bottom of this guy should go, and we've cut this out by marking where this board was, so that we'll run our framing member here for the hip, and then we'll fasten this on top of that girt. It was all the way through, as you can see. We just cut it out. I guess if we did our job correctly, it will all work. The only thing I'm wondering, I hope that this is not in the way. Well, there we go. Worked out exactly as the plan. Everything is a nice tight joint. Now for the day, we can finish our house wrap, get this all covered up. So now we were able to go ahead, run our house wrap. We can see our framing is behind it. So now when we mark everything out on the sidewall here, we can fasten into stuff. So that's as far as we'll take it here now. We'll go ahead. Next step will be to get these brackets anchored in, put up our frame, and then we'll be able to attach everything and run our steel up and over. So make sure you guys are hitting that subscribe button and you hang out, because we're gonna go ahead and do these details in the upcoming videos, and then also those details up on the roof where we got those different roof lines coming together. And I'll try and take you through that process and show you how I do it. Not necessarily the right way, but the right way for us and the way we like to do it.